Nerd alert, dork face.
I am not a loser. I just have a bad haircut.
Kind of a major dork.
Oh, nerds.
If you're into science, tech, or unique hobbies, you're listening to the right show. On Get Nerdy With It, we interview nerds talking about their passions. This is Get Nerdy With It.
Hello, this is Get Nerdy With It, episode number 4. Welcome. My name is Jennifer Ruggiero, your host, and with me, co-host Frank Ruggiero.
Hello.
How are you doing, Frank?
Doing fine, Jen. How are you?
Good. Have you had a good week?
Pretty good. How about yours?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. Really busy, yeah.
I agree. It's a good busy week for being busy.
Yeah, and lots of rain, too. It's been a rainy week as well.
The clouds have been busy.
Yeah, the clouds have been busy, yes.
So is the rain.
And the rain.
It's raining busyness.
Oh, my God. All right, and so we have an awesome guest with us today, Frank.
Who's also busy.
He's also very busy. Yes, he is. His name is Xander Deccio. Xander, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. How are you?
Pretty good. Just been pretty busy, though, like Frank said.
Busy? Huh.
There seems to be a lot of busyness going around.
It's the word for the day.
It is the word of the day. So, Xander, tell us a little bit. No, that's your, okay, just so people know, I know Xander from way back. Frank and I know him from years ago, and his middle name is Travis, and so I called him Trav all these years. And so, but he goes by Xander, actually, but that was what I called him. So if I slip up, I'm sorry in advance, Xander. So,
it's all right.
Yeah.
He's too busy to notice.
So tell us, you have the coolest job. I mean, tell us a little bit about it, if you would.
I'm actually a concert photographer, is what we call it, a Rocktographer.
Neat.
I mainly shoot lots of concerts out of the Seattle, Portland, Spokane, basically just out of the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's a great place to be. There's so many amazing artists out there.
Yeah, especially.
No, I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, especially the big one right now is Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
Oh, I didn't know they were from there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then all their songs, they talk about Seattle. They're from Seattle.
No kidding. Wow. Have you shot them before?
I shot them at Sasquatch, but we ended up not finding out until right when I got there that there was no photo pit. So I had to stand in the crowd. Myself and my colleagues had to stand out in the crowd and try to shoot it. And I mean, it was packed because you had a ton of fans out there. So,
wow.
I just made do with what I could get. But hopefully, I'm thinking he's probably going to come around Seattle again. So hopefully, I'll just try then.
Yeah. Is there typically a photo pit when you shoot these guys?
Normally how it works is it just depends on the artist. Sometimes the front barricade near the stage is considered what they call the security/photo pit. Mm-hmm. And you'll have like a little nylon photo badge that I keep mine in a little plastic sleeve/lanyard because I don't like them getting ruined because they don't stick too well. And plus I save them. Mm-hmm. But the thing is with those, you usually get the first 3 songs you shoot the artist. And then after that, if you have a ticket, you can sit and watch the show. Normally for me, unless it's an artist I really, really like, I usually leave just so I can get home and get home to edit photos and whatnot. But it just depends because sometimes big name artists will make you shoot from the soundboard. And with that, you're going to need a longer telescopic lens, preferably like a 70-200. With a 2.8 aperture, but I've seen sometimes that people have had to rent a 300 just to get shots. And normally artists like that do that, or like Beyonce, which actually she's not allowing photographers, which is a long story. But like Madonna does it. Say again.
I said, God forbid people take a picture of Beyonce.
Yeah, well, after that whole Super Bowl fiasco, she's cracking down.
Oh.
I wouldn't call it a fiasco. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I've seen the photos, but like I said, I can't really say much on it. I mean, she was trying to get them pulled off, and nobody wanted it, and the publication wouldn't do it, and she got mad, and went, it's her image.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame her, actually. I think if I were an artist, and I know you put yourself out there in the public, but for bad shots to be taken of me and then just put all out there, that would be, I don't know. I wish there was some rule where you could say only good shots allowed or something.
Well, normally how that works is normally if the publicist finds the photos, they'll email you and say, hey, can you take this down? She's not liking it. Mm-hmm. And with me, I usually will follow the request and take it down. But there are some photographers out there that won't do it, and that ends up making the artist mad. And then as for them, they kind of just say, okay, you know what? No one's going to shoot me, so don't even ask for a photo pass. And I mean, that's a lot. And a lot of rocktographers are out there kind of getting upset with this because we're just trying to follow the rules. We're doing our jobs. We just want to make the artist look good. But there are some out there that just put some really bad photos out there, and it.
It makes it. Go ahead, Frank.
I mean, you think it really depends on the context as well. I mean, it's not like you're actively pursuing a shot of her grimacing, making a hideous face as if she's, giving birth to like Ronald Reagan or something. You want to put your best work out there, and I wouldn't imagine that wouldn't, involve such a look of anguish on her face. I mean, you want to.
Well, and the thing is that it can also ruin your reputation too, and that also helps you get on with other publications or helps you get other gigs.
I mean, that's like one of those photos you just keep at home and show your friends.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Exactly. And by somebody putting it out there, that does, now it kind of puts I don't know, what's the term I'm looking for? Makes it more challenging. Yeah, stigma. But makes it more challenging for other photojournalists to work with her, So, yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah. So, Frank, you know a little bit about cameras. Do you have any camera questions?
Oh, yeah. Quick question for you. Nikon versus Canon. Go.
Oh, boy. I get this so many times. I'm going to be brutally honest. I kind of feel the point's very moot because, both I've owned a Nikon, and I have nothing wrong with Nikons. I actually switched to Canon because for me, they actually work better with concert photography, but I've seen Nikons actually do very well in low light. So, I mean, I really couldn't tell you which is the best. And a lot of professionals out there have even stated that's kind of moot, and it's just kind of like it's pointless to even kind of get into that argument. However, there are some out there that are some other photographers that are diehard Canon fans and diehard Nikon fans, or I've even seen people that are diehard Pentax, because Pentax actually makes digital SLR cameras as well as Sony, and they're like all about. I mean, it's really just all about the photographer. It's just what they prefer.
Yeah.
Well, someone once told me that the only difference is really the sound the shutter makes.
Yeah,
as far as certain equipment goes. Well, now you said you use a Canon, but what kind do you use?
Right now I have a Canon 50D EOS, and then I just bought a 7D, which is actually has a faster frame. Actually has 15 frames per second, so it's got the fastest shutter speed on that.
Wow.
Have you had time to play around with that yet?
I actually rented one at Sasquatch, but I didn't have the manual with me, so I kind of was trying to figure out the focusing system on it. So now that I actually have the camera and the manual, I'm going to be messing around with it to get it to work to my specifics.
Now, how do you feel about like these internet-ready SLRs that are kind of coming out with the Android operating system on them? I mean, they look like point-and-shoots, but they're kind of disguising them as DSLRs, it seems.
Are you talking about the point-and-shoots with the adjustable lenses?
Kind of, but it also comes with like an Android operating system on it. I don't recall what it's called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know that there's the iPhone, that people use iPhones, and they've got apps for that.
This is actually like a point-and-shoot camera, but like you said, with the adjustable lens, but it also has an Android operating system.
Are you talking about the Samsung one that allows you to take photos and has Android on it, but then also upload them right there on the fly?
I think that's one of the brands, but I think a few others are doing that as well.
Yeah, I think Nikon's doing that too.
Yeah, that's right. That's an Nikon Cool Pix, I think.
Yeah.
Personally, for point and shoots, I think they're fine for if you're just doing it for me, I call them party cameras because, they're the type of cameras people take to parties and get random photos. But if you're talking about taking them in the pit, I absolutely am against that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also do some photography for the entertainment publication I work with. And one of the things that's always bothered me is I was at a festival, I guess it was a couple years ago, Robert Plant was playing. And he had a rider in his contract saying that no professional photographer is allowed to take his photo. And in the audience, you have countless people waving their iPhones, waving their cameras, their video recorders, just taking all this stuff on film or SD cards now. I mean, do you find that aggravating that they're allowed to get this amateur footage, but you're not allowed to get a decent shot?
Yeah, I actually kind of do find that very aggravating at times. But the thing that really bothers me the most is that, you got some people that pay to go to these shows, and then you're sitting there trying to watch the show, and then you see somebody stick their camera up in the air, and it's just like, really. And actually, here's an interesting fact. Prince actually played Seattle. He played 4 shows at the Showbox at the Mark. It was kind of his little this new thing that he was doing, and he actually forbidden anybody from bringing any type of recorder in there because he wanted to enjoy the audience. He did not want people taking photos.
I think that's a great idea. Actually, I heard about that, and the reason is when you're at a show and you're in the audience and you're holding up your camera, you're not enjoying the full moment of the show. You're looking at it through this little screen, and you're really losing something. You're losing part of the experience. And
and I agree. I do agree on that.
Yeah.
And it's distracting for all the other people too. I mean, it's like lighters at concerts have been replaced by these phones, by these digital displays.
That's true. Yeah.
And,
I remember the days when people brought lighters in there during a slow song and just lit it up. I mean, that was awesome to see that.
Yeah.
Now there's an app for that.
Now there's the app for it. Yeah, there's that lighter app.
There's the Zippo app.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Actually, I also wanted to add something onto that. I actually shot John Mellencamp a couple years ago, and he was on tour with Bob Dylan, and Dylan refused to let anybody even bring a camera during his set. And I actually remember it was so strict that security, if you brought your phone out just to send a text message, security threatened to kick you out.
Wow.
Kind of wish they do that in the movies too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should.
I mean, if people are, I don't know, people don't listen to the rules like that while watching a movie. I don't know how they're going to regulate that in a concert. But I'd like to see them try.
There's a theater that actually, I forgot what group of theater it is, but what they do, they actually have an app, and they encourage users to install it. And if you run it every time you're at the movie during the entire course of the film, you get these points, and then you can cash in these points for, I don't know, drinks or movie tickets or something. And the whole thing of it is it basically puts your phone in airplane mode, so you don't have no sound and nothing. So it silences the phone, it turns off all the radios on the device, but you have to keep that app running, and it uses very little battery in the background. I think that's a neat idea.
That is actually a neat idea if you get points out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Give people incentive other than manners.
Yep. Yeah. And it's nice to turn that off and just disengage for a few hours and be in the moment of the film or the show that you're at, Yeah.
But
I mean, I will say one credit on the phone thing. I mean, because actually where I live at, they actually opened a 21 and over movie theater, which is basically they serve alcohol.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And so you can get full on meals in there, but I always pay with my debit card. And I always have to write the tip in there and whatnot, and I can't see it. And so normally I use the little flashlight thing, and then I just shut it off.
Yeah, that's a good idea for that. Yeah, I could see it using for that.
Speaking of both phones and cameras, I'm sure you've heard the news about the Chicago Sun-Times laying off its entire photography staff to replace them with iPhone users. Does that kind of make you, I don't know, fear for the future of this profession?
Yeah, actually it does, because last year CNN did the same thing too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's all. Sorry to interrupt, but it's also interesting because I just had a colleague that posted something on Facebook the other day, And I guess CNN was trying to score photos off of her, but they were trying to tell her they didn't want to pay her for usage, and they wanted her to remove the watermarks, and she said no. And that's the thing. It's like now they just want everything for free. They don't want to pay the photographer or the photojournalist.
Oh, yeah, that's not cool. I mean, if you're putting in all your hard effort and work into going there and taking the time and investing in the equipment, they should definitely compensate,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, how did you get started in music photography? Rocktography.
I was actually doing photography for a while, but it was just kind of like a hobby, and I was actually finishing up my associate's degree at the local community college, and I had actually stayed friends with was really good friends with a local photographer by the name of Island Jen. It's actually islandjen.com if you check that out. Her and I had been friends since I was living in North Carolina, actually, and I was always kind of following her MySpace profile and all the shows that she had shot, because I remember she shot Warped Tour so many times. She shot like all these well-known bands. Well, she started her own publication, which didn't work out very well, but she actually helped me get my foot in the door. And the first show I actually shot was Social Distortion, and then
neat.
Yeah, that was the first show that I shot, and then after that, she helped me get onto Amp Magazine, and so I shot Suicidal Tendencies for them.
Nice.
And
wow.
then it was actually one of my colleagues actually introduced me to the editor for a local publication called Backbeat Seattle, and right there, actually, that's basically how I got my start. Was actually I shot for them for over a year, and then I left, but I ended up leaving Backbeat and was actually freelancing, which I actually still do freelance. And I ended up one of my colleagues ended up setting me up with BuzzNet, which is actually owned by Spin Media, which was Buzz Media back last year. And it was BuzzNet that actually, the first show I shot for him was Rob Zombie and Slayer, and I ended up posting my zombie photos, and next thing you know, I caught the attention of like every editor on staff, and they were just like, "Oh my God, any show you want, it's yours."
Wow, that's awesome. That's cool. Awesome. So I didn't realize that it used to be owned by Spin, BuzzNet.
Actually, it still is owned by Spin. They just bought it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, they own quite a few publications. Trying to think. But they own Gorilla vs. Bear, Stereo Gum. Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm not sure about BuzzFeed. I'd have to look on that. There's like a couple of entertainment blogs they own. I know they also run Kim Kardashian's website as well.
Oh, no kidding.
That sounds like an insightful place.
Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that one in there.
So, well, who have been some of your favorite subjects, your favorite musicians to film? Or not film, but shoot, rather.
Oh, let's see. This is quite a huge list. Kim
Kardashian.
No, I haven't gotten that far yet. There's been so many. I can't really think of anything. I would think of many.
So let me ask you this: if you see a band, if you're shooting a band that you are into, and you're there during the first 3 songs, is it hard to not totally get into it and just kind of skip?
Oh no, there's been times I've actually gotten into it.
Because that would be challenging for me. I mean, if it's somebody like you mentioned Suicidal Tendencies, did they do Institutionalized when you were there?
Yeah, they did that during. I think that was like the second or third song.
Oh my God! Oh,
that's cool.
That is sweet. I would have totally
kind of distracting.
Yeah, I would have been I would have been all over that. Yeah.
I remember during there's certain bands that I actually do get really into, like Social Distortion's one of them. Mm-hmm. Trying to think. Actually, Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros at Sasquatch. I really was just singing the entire time while I was shooting, because I've worn out that album so many times.
Wow.
Those guys are just fun to watch.
Those guys,
how they have that much energy
live. I mean, half the time I don't even know what they're doing.
No, I mean they seem like something out of 1960s hair musical.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're cool as hell.
But it's good. It's good. I mean, they've just had to be exhausted when they're through. I don't know.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and especially when Alex Ebert will jump into the crowd and start interacting with the crowd members. There's actually There's actually, well, I was shooting him at Sasquatch this year. I've actually shot him at Sasquatch a couple years ago, but this year he just like got in the crowd and grabbed this lady's beer and started drinking.
Oh my gosh.
It was just funny.
I've been there before,
Wow. Do you ever get to interact with them, with the musicians that you shoot? Do they ever, like, either after the show, they see your work and do they buy it from you, or while you're at the shows? I guess, it's hard when you're filming, when you're shooting them, no, but afterwards maybe.
Usually it's like maybe a couple months after, depending on if we've got somebody who wants to buy it or wants to use it for like an advertising purposes for like for equipment or whatnot.
Right.
Most of the times if I do meet them, it's usually for interviews, but since I've now merged my site with Seattle Music Insider, I usually am the one that sets up the interviews, and then my partner Greg Roth does all the interviews, because it gets kind of exhausting just to do an interview, and then I got to go in there and type it, dictate it, and then post it. And so finally, like, Greg and I set up something where I'd set up the interviews and do the portraits on that, or the photo shoots, and then he'd do the interview part because he actually had more experience doing it. We actually did that at Sasquatch this year because I had a whole bunch of interviews lined up, and I was just like, I don't know if I can sit here and do all of these. And then Greg didn't have any of his lined up, so I just said, hey, Greg, you want to do the interviews, and I'll just do the photo shoot. And he's like, yeah, not a problem.
Cool. So wait, and that's at seattlemusicinsider.com.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Yeah, I've been looking at that site. It's an awesome site.
Yeah, we've got it's not only just music news and coverage. We've also got SMI Radio, which Greg runs, and he does like interviews with bands and whatnot. It's actually a podcast. It's podcasted, but he's also been broadcasting it. I'd have to double check on that. He said one of the markets was Philadelphia.
Wow. Seattle goes out far.
Yeah. Well, especially when you have like two of the big, especially when you got a few of the big concert festivals out in the Pacific Northwest, especially with Sasquatch, Bumbershoot, and then Music Fest Northwest out of Portland. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember you telling me years ago that Seattle just has the best bands and the best shows, and everything is out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it depends. I mean, they do some of the big bands come out of there, and then also you got Sub Pop Records that was formed out of Seattle. So it's like you hear all the bands that are on Sub Pop, and most of them are from Seattle, but it's like, yeah.
So go ahead, Frank.
Now you raised a good point about multitasking, someone doing the interview while you shoot the photos. I think a lot of people don't realize that the job isn't over when you just leave the concert. You have to do a lot of editing. You have to do a lot of selection.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about your post process.
Okay, so normally how it works is it just depends on what time I get home, because if I'm driving from Seattle back to my hometown, I use to where I live right now, and that's about a 2-hour drive. Usually I'm probably get home, upload the photos onto my external hard drive, because I don't leave them on my computer because it slows up it'll slow up my hard drive space. So I have an external hard drive. I upload everything from my CF cards onto that. And then I'll keep those on there, and then just copy the files onto Lightroom, which is actually the program I use. It's kind of like Adobe Photoshop, but it's aimed more for photography purposes. So normally I get those uploaded there, and then after that, it's usually sift through the numerous photos numerous frames that I've shot, and then figure out which are the best ones, and then mark those, and then I start editing them from there. Make sure they're all crisp and awesome, and doesn't look like they were just came out of the camera.
How many? By the way, how many do you take like per show approximately? How many shots do you get out of one? To work with.
Just depends. I mean, because it's like on the frames per. Usually, my frames per second might go a little crazy if I just do like the one shot. If it's a fast-paced band, it might be more. But if it's like a slower show, take for instance, what's a slower band that we shot recently?
Mumford and Sons?
Yeah, actually Mumford and Sons is they're kind of
animated, aren't they?
They are very animated. I would say a slower show, probably Lumineers. I mean, they're not really, they just kind of stand there and just play their, I haven't really Although I never really got into the Lumineers for some reason. But I just remember they just basically stood there and just played. I mean, they might have got into it a little bit, but most of the time they were standing there and playing. Of Monsters and Men was another one that was kind of a little that just kind of stood there and just performed. I mean, they were just kind of fun to watch, but normally if it's a slower band like that where they just sit and play, usually maybe at the most 100. But if it's a faster band, like maybe a metal band like Rob Zombie or Avenged Sevenfold, there might be more, like maybe 200.
I see. Wow. It's a lot.
Just because you want to get all those action shots and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely.
And dodge those dang microphone stands.
Oh, yeah, mic mouth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's always another issue to try to
Mic mouth.
Because you always got to angle it correctly to make sure they don't get a photo of them like with the mic right at their mouth.
Gosh. So
Which happens.
I would imagine. Yeah, it happens a lot. So I noticed all your pictures on Flickr as well. So where all do you publish your photos to?
BuzzNet, Seattle Music Insider, sometimes Town Square Media, depending on if it's a local show. Sometimes, or if it's out of Portland, we'll use them. I haven't actually updated my Flickr in a while. I mean, especially since they changed everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I still get Sasquatch photos to upload because it used to be I used it for just to generate traffic, and because I know they would get requests back asking to use photos and whatnot. Most of the times they didn't want to pay, but that's actually how I got. That's actually how Alternative Press found some of my photos and actually wanted to use them, which I got paid for. But now it's like the new layout. I'm just not liking it.
Really? It is completely different from what it was. Now, are you still pro? And when your pro expires, will you renew it?
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah. I'm not certain if I'm going to, but then again, I'm not a photographer. So now that we have all the extra space with the free Flickr, I don't think I'll have a need for it. But yeah, if I were in your business, I probably would though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, tell us a bit about your website.
Right now, actually, which one? Seattle Music Insider or my personal site?
Your personal site.
Personal site at the moment is actually down. I'm kind of revamping things because we changed names from XanderDeccio.com to expxd.com, and originally the other site that I had was Jet City Sound, and I was actually doing very well with that site. I mean, for a startup, we were getting a lot of big name shows like the Rockstar Energy Drink Mayhem Festival, mainly a lot of metal bands and whatnot. But anyways, I ended up switching hosts, and they ended up crashing my site and lost all our data. And so it was.
Oh no.
Yeah, I had all the files and everything, but I had like interviews already posted and whatnot. And so by then I was like trying to revamp everything. It was in the middle of rebuilding. And then there was a radio station called Jet City Stream that came out that came out. Actually, it's no more due to, from what I heard, I think was financial issues. But I decided, because a lot of my friends actually worked at Jet City Stream. And I was like, you know what? This is going to take forever to rebuild. So I was looking for a place to merge. And I was looking at different websites and was working with a couple of them, and none of them panned out. And then finally, I got on with Seattle Music Insider, and Greg and I actually became pretty good friends. And so I talked to him about merging, and luckily he was all for it and just keeping the Seattle Music Insider name because Greg had already had a deal signed with Beat 100 out of the UK, which is a video service.
Oh.
And so we wanted to, and he said like just with the name alone, he was getting a ton of emails for show requests. And I was like, let's just keep that name because that's actually a better name.
It's a great name, yeah. It's a real good name for a site. I like it. So out of curiosity, what would be, if you could photograph any artist, who would be your favorite, or who would you like to do it? What's on your wish list?
Kim Kardashian.
Actually, I have a pretty big bucket list on that one. I'd have to say right now, Bruce Springsteen's on my list. Paul McCartney's on my list. BB King's been on my list for a while, but every time I've put in a request, something's happened. And my wife just gave me that look like, oh, really?
I saw Paul McCartney was over at Bonnaroo over the weekend, so I guess he's doing the tour. Yeah.
I know he's coming to Safeco Field in July.
Yeah. Is that near you?
Yeah, that's actually, it's in Seattle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe you can shoot him.
Well, I put in a request. We'll see what happens, because you never know. We'll see what happens,
Yeah.
Well, speaking of requests, I saw on your Facebook page you had a kind of a catch-22 going on with, was it Fall Out Boy?
Yeah, it was Fall Out Boy.
How they're wanting you to shoot their show, yet they're not giving you a ticket.
Yeah, the thing is, it's normally I wouldn't really request a ticket for this show because it's not, no disrespect. I'm just not really a big Fall Out Boy fan, but, they've got a huge following, so I thought, that would be good website hits.
Mm-hmm.
But
so they won't let you in to shoot it without a ticket.
Well, there's
that's what I'm trying to figure out at the moment, because I'm not exactly sure, because it might be a venue thing with the venue where they want you to have a ticket inside to shoot, because it's happened at some venues and happened with numerous venues where they require you to have a ticket even if you have a photo pass. But most of the times I don't even stay for the shows. I usually just shoot and leave.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I haven't figured out what's going on with that one yet, but hopefully I'll get a resolution to it.
Yeah, hopefully so. I'll keep tabs on your Facebook page and see what's happening there.
Right on.
Frankie, you sound like you had something else to say. It sounded like...
No, I was clearing my throat.
Oh, okay. So what's next for you? What do you see in the near future?
Well, that's a good question. Just make it through summer concert series, usually the festivals and whatnot, and then take it from there.
Yeah.
Hopefully branch out to some more publications.
Mm-hmm.
SMI is a pretty big deal because it's a Seattle blog, and normally a lot of bands want more local than national if you're covering.
That makes sense. I did have another question, and you know what? It just escaped me. It popped in my head when you were there, when you were talking, and now it is gone. It was about
Kim Kardashian.
It was about Kim Kardashian. Yeah, exactly. It was.
Okay.
What other publications have your work appeared in?
Say again?
What other publications has your work appeared in, apart from SMI right now?
I've actually been published 3 times in Australia with a magazine called Australian Hysteria. Mainly that was a lot of actually suicidal tendencies. A lot of my suicidal tendencies photos actually were published through them. And then just a couple other random bands that they used for filler spots. So, getting published internationally is even just it's actually just a big it's a big accomplishment. And then couple months ago, one of my photos was featured at the Triple Door in Seattle with 30 of my other colleagues.
Nice.
Yeah, that was actually I was pretty flattered when I was asked to partake in that one, because it's like, wow, it's just like, wow.
That's impressive. That's really great. Hey, I do have a question. What is your worst experience with shooting an artist?
Oh boy!
Does anything stand out?
You don't have to name anyone if you don't want. You can just make it rhyme.
Just make it rhyme.
Yeah, there was a couple. Trying to think how to word this. Actually, I think you know what? I'll just go ahead and say it because I don't really like this band anyways, and I'm kind of still. It was just kind of not a fun experience, and actually my wife was with me that show, and she didn't like it either.
What was it? Who was it?
Daughtry.
Oh, no kidding. Wow, local boy.
Yeah, the whole story goes like this. We were, so I got the final approval like the day of the show. They sent tickets over, got the pass and whatnot. First 2 opening bands, which was Cavo and Lifehouse, had no restrictions. And we weren't even aware of any restrictions of shooting this bull. By the time Daughtry came on, we were told that we had to shoot from one side of the stage, which didn't bother me. Mm-hmm. But we were told, the publicist had said we had 3 songs to shoot from. They were trying to. His little security entourage was trying to kick us out after one song.
Wow.
Wow.
I wonder why.
I don't know what it was, but after that, I was just like, I'm never shooting this guy again.
Yeah. If you're supposed to be there for 3 songs, for them to kick you out after one, I mean, what is the big deal with you staying there for 3 songs? I don't
Well, it just depends on the artist and whatnot.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's different restrictions and whatnot. I mean, if they would have told me in advance, like, hey, there's only 2 songs for this, I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But they were just kicking us out after like one song, and I'm like, really?
And the thing of it is it's I know he's very famous already, but it's publicity for him, I mean, so
Yeah.
I don't see why anyone would object. Personally, I'd be flattered.
And plus, you're not using flash photography up in the pit.
No,
So how does
that's
it
actually
bother
that's a big no-no in
Oh yeah.
concert photography. You're not. Some bands are okay with it, but if there's another photographer in the pit, I'm not going to do that because that'll throw them off, and
No.
you don't want to do that because then that automatically people remember that and they'll think, oh, this guy's hard to work with, and.
I have to apologize if you hear anything in the background. You guys hearing a little bell or something jingling around, or no?
Yeah.
You hear that? That's Giorgio. That's Giorgio. I have a bird, Giorgio, and he's deciding to play with his bell in his cage right now. And
So you got another bird?
yeah, I do. I have he's a little parakeet. He's just a little parakeet, but he's a cutie. But yeah, he's
Georgia.
Giorgio. Hey, Giorgio.
And his predecessor was Paco. I believe.
Paco.
I remember
Yeah.
Paco.
Yeah.
Paco and Georgia.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I know. I guess we're approaching our time limit here. So, Frank, any further questions for Xander?
No. I think we've had a nice discussion here. I'm curious about when he's going to get some Kim Kardashian photos.
I'm curious when the bring your friend to work job day comes. Will you let me know? So
Yeah, I could see what we could pull at that one. It's another thing. I actually get a ton of requests for that, especially if it's like Warped Tour or whatnot. They're like, "Can I hold your bag?" I'm like, well, you're gonna sit outside and watch the show because you're not coming in the pit with me.
that's so funny. That is
I don't want because there's other people in the pit that need to get their photos.
Yeah, that's
Does your wife come to a lot of shows with you?
She usually comes to the ones that she wants to see. Like she's been hounding me for counting crows.
Mm-hmm.
Which she's probably giving me that look right about. Yep, she is.
Do you get? Oh, here's another quick question. Do you get discounts on tickets, being that you're, that you do what you do?
Not necessarily. No.
Oh.
I think Giorgio has a question.
Giorgio has a question. He's curious. Okay, so let's say you do want to go and see the show, and you're shooting them. Will they at least give you decent seats, or do you have to just kind of get what you get? And,
pretty much get what you get. I mean, sometimes you might get lucky and get decent seats.
Yeah.
Actually, I know for Flogging Molly, they gave me all access for that show, which was surprising.
I love Flogging Molly.
Actually, now I remember it. Actually, my buddy, my other colleague at SMI ended up getting another all access pass, and so he gave me his extra one.
I would not be
I probably should say that so he doesn't get on me like, what the heck?
I wouldn't be able to compose myself with that, to keep still enough to take a shot. I could not. I mean, I'd be all in that pit, all in the pit.
It was a crazy show. I mean, I actually was supposed to shoot it last year, and something came up, and we didn't get to do it. And so when they came back again this year, I was just like, I'm not missing this one.
Oh, my God. They're one of my favorite all-time shows. Every time they come to town, I'm there. I mean, they're the best. Well, anyway.
Actually, now I remember, I think there are 2 bands that I was like really happy I shot. That was Red Hot Chili Peppers and Soundgarden.
Oh, wow.
When was this?
Soundgarden was in February, and I actually didn't think we were getting approved for that because they were being very picky. So, and then when I found out I was approved, I was just like, "Are you serious?"
That's sweet.
And then Red Hot Chili Peppers, that took some. I didn't think that was going to get approved either because we had to use that through Town Square. And then finally they said, "Yeah, you're good to go. Can't give you a ticket, but you can shoot." But I was just like, "Hey, I just want to shoot."
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm envious, but I don't even know how to take a decent shot. So, I'm thankful that you do what you do. So you can share those memories and images with everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like Giorgio is thankful too.
Giorgio is very thankful. He is climbing all over this cage right now, and he's typically very quiet. And I don't know what's going on. I think he's excited.
Just get a little microphone on his perch, and he can join us. Sing a song.
A little birdie mic.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun. That'd be cute.
That would be cute.
No.
Little Giorgio.
Oh, Giorgio.
Well, all right. Well, I guess we should wrap it up. Xander, can you tell everyone where we can find you online?
You can find me on BuzzNet, which is xanderdeccio.buzznet.com. I'm on Twitter. That's twitter.com/expxd. Let's see what else. SeattleMusicInsider.com is another one. Mm-hmm. And I also have a Facebook fan page, which is I think it's facebook.com/expxdphoto. I'm not sure on that one.
You know what? I'll put the link in the show notes, so people will have links to all your sites in the show notes.
Yeah, the Facebook page doesn't get updated as much because I never get on it as much. So the best bet to see for updated photos. Oh, and then of course Flickr, which is I think it was flickr.com/Xander Deccio. I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, it's Flickr. Yeah, it's Xander Deccio.
So I usually update that, but usually the best sites to check are my Twitter account because usually I'll update that when I post stuff. Mm-hmm. But BuzzNet's usually the best place to check, and so is Seattle Music Insider.
Okay, sweet. Well, I'll put all the links in the show notes. And Frank, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at WTF and on Facebook. Just search Ruggiero, spell it like the animal.
Like the animal?
Yeah.
Okay. And the House Ruggiero. And me, I'm JenniferRuggiero.com. If people are asking, no, we are not married. Frank and I are siblings. Siblings only. And, of course, getnerdywithit.com and our Twitter account, getnerdy_withit. We're also at facebook.com/getnerdywithit. So, Xander, thanks so much for joining us. And this has been an awesome chat. And,
hey, it was fun.
I'm so grateful.
Good talking with you.
All right, have a good night.
All right, you too.
Good night. Giorgio says bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Get Nerdy With It. Join us each week as we interview nerds talking about their passions.
Oh, nerds.
And be sure to visit us at getnerdywithit.com.